the company he was involved with bought up by MF Global, and then they seized his private account with over 6 figures in it. And at first, people didn't believe this. Now it's in Bloomberg, AP, everywhere. They're going, yeah, it looks like it's illegal. They took people's private accounts, Ted. What does this signify to Ted Anderson?
Well, Alex, I think we're going to see a lot more of that kind of thing. I mean, I've been warning about that for quite some time here. I mean, the United States is becoming desperate, and so the corporations that are, that are sort of in the too big to fail category for the United States. I mean, they're going to be doing more of that kind of thing. And it doesn't surprise me a bit that they're trying to do that. So now Gerald has taken physical delivery of gold and silver. I can't think of a better thing to do. People, you just have to realize that if you're putting your money into an institution and these institutions are in such great trouble, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, the government's going to come in and, they're going to ask for bailouts. But part of this is, just to nationalize and to be able to grab a hold of and seize these assets. They can't do that when you have physical gold and silver. When you own it, they don't control it. That's why it's such a good idea to do this, Alex. People are they're going to see more of this. It happened in Argentina. It happened in Brazil. Certainly happened during the Weimar Republic in Germany. I mean, you were lucky to be able to get out of that country. The only way you were able to get out is if you had physical assets, something that you could actually put your hands on. If you had gold coins or silver coins, or if you had diamonds or emeralds or anything, even a 9/16 wrench would be more valuable than the paper currency. And I'm just watching what's going on in Europe. I mean, Spanish bonds are going into the toilet. The European governments, Italy and Greece, Ted,
I want to get to that in a moment, but I want to point something out here. People keep asking, how are we always right? How do we know Greece was going to go down and Ireland and then Italy and then Spain? Because the globalists planned it. It's a playbook. They've done it all over the third world, all over Eastern Europe. We got the documents 11 years ago, 2002, or I guess 10 years ago, where they said that they would do all this. I've been screaming bloody murder every day since then. I told you they'd announce a Bank of the World, that it would be dictatorial, and Time Magazine says, banker Goldman Sachs coup. Goldman Sachs rules Europe like it's good. Technocrats, get rid of freedom. And the media is like, yeah, actual Wall Street folks are, we've got power. They've shined on to like a new Nazi party. Don't you idiots get it? And they're going to blame capitalism for all this. I mean, Ted, we've been right about this because it's historical what's happening.
That's really what's going on, Alex. It's just a repeat of history. What has happened in the past is what our current government is trying to do to solve problems. When they're jumping to the printing press, when they're seizing assets like Gerald is talking about, I mean, that's the direction where this country's heading. We're going away from liberty. We're going away from freedom. We're going away from property rights and the individual's right.
And it's premeditated, Ted. They want total collapse. They don't want people to have confidence in the systems anymore. This is the end. If we let these crooks get away with it, they are so bold. People, I believe in gold and silver. I've been recommending silver since it was $5, gold since it was 260-something. Gold and silver are rising. They can drive it down short term. But as I said months ago when they did, I said that when it's lower is a buying opportunity. Now it's gone back up because globally they're devaluing currencies. Globally this is happening. Ted Anderson's got the gold and silver on hand. He will ship it directly to you. That's why I'm hooked up with this company. Ted, briefly, as we're about to go to break, I'm going to come back with calls. Tell folks about your spectrum of specials, the radio specials, that, again, this is gold you bought in the last month. You ran out of the stuff you bought 2 months ago, so you're buying it at a lower price. Ted doesn't raise prices as the market goes up. He locks it in and gives you that saving. Ted, give folks the lost leaders for the day.
Yeah, sure. I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, real quick, we're still offering the video and book deal. I think there's about 500 copies of that book left, and then it's done. We're not going to have any more.
Yeah, $2 silver book video. The silver dollars at cost with the free book video and shipping. 500 of those left. That'll go probably by next week.
Yeah, $73 a piece. You just can't beat that deal with $2 silver, the book, and the video that explains what's going on in our economy, and the book. It's a great deal put together. We have Frank's currently right now at $386. Walking Liberties are at $16.58. All this stuff is for physical delivery. I still think it's a good idea to take a look at the older $10 Liberties. They're at $1,050 right now. There's just a lot of things that are that are in that right buying range right now. I mean, I saw a little bit of a decrease in gold today. It hit down to as low as 1752.10, and then it came racing right back up again, and right now we're at 1778. You know, I try to buy in those little dips. They're just, I mean, the opportunities to be able to accumulate a good quantity of good material to sell it's just getting harder to do. There's just not as much material to go around nowadays, and shortages and supply drive up premiums, and that's just the way the market's been. But if you do want to get involved at this time, I can't suggest.
Yeah, let me give folks the number, 800-686-2237. Gold and silver, folks, they can answer your questions. The brokers are there. Tell them to read you the list of radio specials. Gold, silver, bullion, you name it. 800-686-2237. The brokers are there till midnight. And Ted can't hold these deals very long. The prices will go up. 800-686-2237. Your call straight ahead.
Day after day.
So you have the head of the federal agency charged with overseeing the futures market, the CFTC, involved in all of this, according to Reuters. And if you go to the article at Infowars.com, MF Global looted customers' accounts via internal bank run. Big players got warning ahead of time that financial broker was set to collapse. We've got links to all the documents, all the admissions there. And then Gerald Celente's interview last night with us. Very, very powerful information at Infowars.com. And this just shows how ruthless they are. Now, because people are complaining, they say they might give people some of their money back. And no, it's not insured. Well, as they bankrupt the other big banks and systems, they're just going to insure it by printing more money. And that's what's happening in Europe. That's what's happening here. That's why inflation's going up as the real economy depresses. I'm going to go to your calls here, the folks that are patiently holding here in just a moment, Mike and others. But briefly, Ted, final comments on this. I mean, how big of a deal is this for you to see the former New Jersey governor, the little darling of the establishment, running this operation?
Well, I mean, again, you have major institutions that are in trouble. This is one institution that's failing, Alex, and to have the corruption that you're seeing, I mean, you're scratching the surface on what's actually going on out there in the financial community. And there's going to be more of this going on, and it's going to affect the people that are invested in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I mean, you name it. All these institutional type investments are at risk because of this type of activity. And just the very fact that the United States dollar has been printed to solve our economic issues is a big problem in of itself. And then you add in these institutions that are crumbling and falling apart and the corruption that goes along with it. It's no surprise to me at all that people are diversifying into gold, and they should be. And they should be taking physical delivery of it. The reason why that is because you can't mess with this stuff. It is the real value. It's been holding value for 6,000 years. It's not attached to these institutions.
Absolutely, and that's what Jim Rogers said a few days ago on the show. Farmland, gold, silver, firearms, food, friends you can trust. That's what's valuable. And, of course, a relationship with God. Ted Anderson, thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex.
You want to give Midas Resources a call, folks. It's 800-686-2237, 800-686-2237. You can also go to Infowars.com. Right up at the top of the page, you see a banner that says, get $2 silver, get 2 free gifts. That's where you can find the internet deal for those $2 silver that cost with the free DVD and book that are excellent. The American Dream and, of course, Mark Dice's new book. Mike in New York will come back in the third hour with full news and your calls. Mike in New York, go ahead.
Hey, nice to speak with you, Alec. Nice to share dialogue
with
you.
Sir.
I had a story to share. Well, Gerald, I live actually one county south of him. But I had a story 10 years ago. I became a day trader part-time in the late 90s. And what you often bring up, the illegitimate family courts. My goodness, they created a different department, property execution department in there, and my checks never made it there on time by the time the notification mailed to our state capital, and then the information was transferred down to this department New York State created. Anyways, make a long story short, they restrained all my checking accounts, banking accounts, suspended my driver's license. I mean, it goes on endless. But at that time, I had six figures, close to $500,000 as a day trader in the stock market. And what they did to me prior to, right before 9/11, just restrained my account. And it wasn't for a couple weeks or just take money out of the account, but they restrained them for 8 months. And virtually I lost $450,000 in that time.
Hold on, I got to hear more about this. Incredible. I've seen these reports. And again, sounds good. Make the deadbeat dads pay the child support. But notice the moms never have to. But the issue is then they set up grids to shut down all your accounts, all your business, all your commerce. Now that can be used against everybody. He will buy nor sell without it.
You are listening to GC.
All right, we're into hour number 3. Thank you for joining us. I have massive tons of key news we're going to cover today. First, I want to continue going to a bunch of your calls because you always bring up interesting points, news, and information. Take Gerald Celente. He had more than 6 figures coming to him. It was in his account. But he was also trading in gold futures. And so that messes up all his other positions. Now they're saying there's no money in his account. And so that's going to damage him that way, he told me last night on air. And Mike brings up that for 8 months, because the checks didn't get to the right department. I've seen this in the news, too, where they won't process the child support payments right that the government takes, and then they penalize you. Where I've seen cases of where a father even has custody, and the wife in another state decides to go ahead and go lie and say she needs child support, and they'll give it to her. It's all part of breaking up the family. And you can always find some deadbeat examples of dads, but that's like taking people's kids because they're, poor and then giving them to CPS, who's the most abusive group out there. It's like, well, you might be a problem, guilt until proven innocent, so we'll just give you to a group of known perverts and scumbags. Here, who's on record being a bunch of pedophiles, but here it is. But Mike, if you just tuned in, was telling the story. For 8 months, he had $600,000 in the account, I think he said, of day trading. He'd done a really great job, and they just restrained it so that he couldn't make decisions, and it all went to Hades in a handbasket. And that's what's happening to the society. And then business isn't safe to conduct, and your society collapses because nobody trusts anybody. This is being done by design to create a post-industrial world. The bankers are stealing all the money and assets in the process of destroying the free market. They will then blame the free market for wrecking everything and offer communism as the answer as the bankers sit offshore. That's the New World Order in essence. Mike in New York, finish your story.
Yeah, you're correct, Alex. Just to mention a couple other things that go with that. I mean, tripled your insurance rates. The bank charged me with each bounced check, besides the regular $30 fee, a $100 legal fee. Besides that, let me change the subject a little bit and bring back another highlight that I learned from you maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and that was a comprehensive annual financial report. And I looked and dug deep into it in my county where I live. And I spoke with the county exec, the assistant anyways to the county exec. And just to remind your listeners out there, the comprehensive financial report just lists the incomes and expenditures for each county throughout the United States. And typically speaking, the point that you raised, a gentleman you had on, and I think you even did a video, a short video with that, is, of course, we have sales tax and property taxes, but the third omni-appointment thing was that each county, has between 100 and maybe $300 or $400 million that they invest. And that's basically the main job of the county executive.